Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Adam and my job is to make you a little bit better at English every single video. Today I've got a cracking video for anyone that has to do their November resits for AQA English Language specifically. That's right. We have these November resits coming up and my little chat GPT AI has done a great job, I think, with all the different November resits. It's probably on your mind if you are someone that has to do this. And I just want to tell you that I'm here for you to help you with this. If you just need some past papers, you can go to my website, GCSEEnglishexperts.com, and there is a past papers section, which will give you the last 4 years of AQA papers. And you can download them right there on your device. You can print them out to follow along with what I'm doing today, if that would be helpful to you. But in essence, I'm going to be showing you the skills you need, the timings you need, and the process you need to follow to really maximize getting as close as you can to full marks, level 9, 80 out of 80 for AQA specifically. So let's dive, actually, before I do that, let's just quickly look an extract so that you can see, obviously you've sat this at least once before if you did the summer exam. If you didn't do the summer exam, this will be new to you, but you're going to get one extract for paper 1, and it's going to be about a page and a half. This particular one is from a really great novel by Jan Martel called The Life of Pi. Lots of you have probably seen the movie version of that. But so this is one of the papers that you'll get in the exam. This is called the insert or the extract. And then what you will need to do is read the questions in the question paper and annotate this. And that's the first 10 minutes of your hour and 45 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm going to mark up the pages a little bit so you can see the skills and the things that you need to do. So starting with question 1, this one is really basic. It's easing you into the paper. The skill that you have to demonstrate in this one is simply called comprehension. And this is the most basic skill. Did I just spell that wrong? Comprehension? No, I didn't. Okay, good. English teacher can't spell comprehension. That would be a problem, right? But yeah, so very simple comprehension skill. And it's always going to be, the question will always be, list 4 things about something. In this case, list 4 things about hyenas. Now, to be honest with you, you could just quickly do this question before you go through the full process of reading the whole article or the whole extract if you want to. I'll show you how easy this one is. So if we go to the extract quickly, we'll see 4 things we learn about hyenas. Okay, let's go. The hyenas, it was the hyenas that worried them. So that's the first thing. Hyenas attack in packs. That could be a second thing. Hyenas attack in packs. And they go for zebras, or you could even do they go for zebras, gnus, and water buffaloes. And not only the old or the infirm in a herd, but full-grown members too. And they are hardy attackers. So right there, maybe just for clarity, I'll actually highlight those 4 things. You can see that's how easy question 1 is. You literally just copy those 4 things and you're there. And normally there's 5, 6, 7 things within this first paragraph that could be to do with hyenas. You've also got the fact that they're clever and anything that can be distracted from its mother is good. So there's several more things on top of the 4. Yeah. So that's literally question 1. It's that easy. You would just write in those things. One of the only things to be careful of for question 1, I'll add this in quickly here, is the lines that you're allowed to use. Okay. Normally it's line 1 to 4, line 1 to 5, line 1 to 6. Normally it's the first paragraph, but double check, because that would be the worst thing, is if you picked one of your 4 things you learned from the line below where you're allowed to pick something like that. But very basic comprehension question. And this is going to be 2 minutes. Okay. Maximum 2 minutes of your time. And you should be good to go on to question 2 straight after that. Now, as we move into question 2, what I want to show you is that this is where you now actually have to read the question and then mark up the extract. Okay. Before you read the extract, you want to read question 2, 3, and 4 and make sure that you actually highlight what needs to be highlighted, very specific to the questions. Okay. So question 2, going into this one, is always going to be, how does the writer use language to describe or present something? In this case, it's how does the writer use language here to describe the hyena's appearance, okay? And you can look at words and phrases, language features and techniques, or sentence forms. I typically recommend an acronym here called JAM WINS. And JAM WINS stands for juxtaposition, alliteration, metaphors, word choices, imagery, nouns. Now that is a reminder for word classes, basically nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and then finally similes. Now that isn't an exhaustive list. You can look at other things outside of JAM WINS, but I find that having a little acronym ready, so as you read this, you're looking out for any juxtaposition, alliteration, metaphor, etc., is really helpful. For question 2, you're going to have a total of about 12 minutes, and that has to include the planning time, writing time, everything, okay? You're looking usually for anywhere from 4 to 6 possible bits of language that you could use to create 2 paragraphs with 2 to 3 bits of evidence in each paragraph, okay? So the way that you would do this on the extract before you actually start reading the extract is you would put little brackets on the real extract. This is just a screenshot, obviously, from line 10 to 19. And then you'd put a little comment like, in this case, language, hyena's appearance. You would just write that literally like I'm doing now in the margin. Yeah, so you put language, or I would put lang for short, and I would put hyena's, or I'd do just H's appearance. Yeah. So when you come to read the extract in a minute, having marked up question 2, 3, and 4, you know specifically when you read these lines 10 to 19, you're looking just for language, ideally JAM WINS, and you're only going to pick language that is to do with the hyena's appearance, yeah? Or obviously whatever the question asks on the day, yeah? Which is only a month away. I don't want to scare you, but it's only a month away. Okay, so that's question 2, and we will later on in the video actually look at this section and try and find some language together, just so you can get a sense of things that you might actually want to add in here, okay? But that's question 2. iPads are really annoying when it comes to actually going between images and adding things. So I apologize for that, but there's nothing much I can do about it. Okay, so now we're on to question 3. And question 3 is going to be, in some ways, a little bit similar to question 2 in the fact that they're both 8 marks and you've got 12 minutes again for this one. You're going to be looking for 4 to 6 pieces of evidence again, the same as for question 2. And you're aiming for 2 paragraphs with 2 to 3 bits of evidence that you can use. The big difference here is that this question, instead of looking at language, is looking at structure. How has the writer structured the text? And specifically, in terms of reader response, to create interest, how to interest you as the reader, okay? So in the same way that for question 2, I recommend this thing called JAM WINS, for question 3, I recommend something called FPS, okay? The F stands for focal points or focal shifts. The P stands for pace, and pace can be created by any of the other 2, which is punctuation choices or sentence forms. Sentence forms is like sentence lengths. So you could have short, simple sentences or more long, complex sentences. You might also look out for things like lists, like long list, things like that might be interesting. And of course, this is, again, like JAM WINS, this isn't an exhaustive list. You might also look at, for example, paragraphing. And you might also look at something called the order, or the fancy word is syntax. So the order of the information. But typically, FPPS is a really good starting point. Now for this one, normally the question is from the whole source, okay? So what I do for this one normally is on the extract. So I'm just going to go over to the extract now so you can see this. As a matter of fact, I'll show you question 2 and question 3 marked up now, okay? So on the extract, I would have put on these lines here, because that's question 2, I would put lang, hyena's appearance. So I know that I'm looking at language through that section. Because question 3 is the whole extract, I normally put it up here. I just put structure, or I might put FPPS, or I might put both. And I would then just maybe write the word interest, because it is very important that whatever focal shifts or points, punctuation, pace, sentence forms, any structure that you notice, you need to be able to analyze it and explain how it might be interesting to the reader. Okay. So again, we can come back and look at that later. So then the final question that you need to actually physically mark on the extract before you read the extract and get all the information you need to then answer the questions is going to be question 4. Now, question 4 is usually the second half of the extract. So in this case, because I'm not going to analyze everything in this video, that would be a really long video. You can just imagine that the annotation would go below the extract, where the cutoff is. But for question 4, what you're going to be looking at, let me show you, is going to be a little bit more challenging. It's 20 marks this time, not 8. So you're going to be spending more like 25 minutes on this section. You're probably going to be aiming for more like three paragraphs if you can within that time. And you're probably looking again really at 2 to 3 bits of evidence in each, but you're probably on question 2 and 3, you're more likely to do 2 paragraphs, two bits of evidence each. Well, question 3, you're more likely to do 3 paragraphs, leaning towards 3 bits of evidence in each paragraph. Okay. What will happen for question 4, and all of this is so predictable to me because I've been teaching English for over a decade, but this is important for you to know so that it helps you not be too nervous on the day. In the same way, question 2 will always be how is language used to present something? And in the same way, question 3 will always be how is structure used to interest the reader? Question 4 will always start with a statement. Normally it's a student said X. So in this case, in this part of the story, where the hyena behaves wildly, it's funny rather than frightening. The writer suggests the hyena is actually no serious threat to Pi. And then after the statement, it will always ask you, to what extent do you agree? To what extent do you agree? Okay. So question 2 is basic comprehension. Question 3 is language analysis. Sorry, question 2 is language analysis. Question 3 is structural analysis. And now question 4 is this skill that we call evaluation. Evaluation. Okay. And AQA does give you some suggestions. So you could consider your impressions of the hyena and how the hyena behaves. The writer's presentation of the hyenas maybe as a threat to Pi, and it just reminds you to support your response with references, right? So what you're going to be doing here in a nutshell, in this case from line 20 to the end, is you're going to be looking at both JAM wins and FPPS, and obviously any other language or structure that you see. And the best answers, the ones that get most marks, highest percentage out of 20, would be the questions where there's what we call an interrelationship between language and structure. So the way that both are used together to create your answer, whether you agree that the hyena behaves wildly and it's funny, or you actually disagree and say, no, the hyena's behavior is actually really scary. Yeah. And then whether you agree or not that the hyena seems to be very threatening to Pi, or actually you say, no, it doesn't seem very threatening and serious. Okay. Now, the other quick thing is notice that there's usually, not always, but usually 2 parts to judge. And when you evaluate something, that's what you're doing. You're judging it. You're saying, I agree, or I disagree, or somewhere in the middle. I somewhat agree, I somewhat disagree. Okay. So in this case, as you're looking for your evidence, and you should be looking at it for question 4, you should be looking anywhere from 6 to 10 pieces of evidence from the extract as you read it. You're going to be looking for things that maybe agree that the behavior of the hyena is more funny, maybe also disagrees and it seems more wild and frightening. And then also the same thing, whether you agree. I don't know how I ended up drawing a little arrow there. Anyway, whether you agree that the hyena is actually not really a serious threat, or again, whether you disagree. So you've normally got 4 things that you're looking for in terms of both language and structure. Okay. So that's question 4. And if we now go and actually read a little bit of the extract, I'm going to mark up what I would write for question 4. So since there's 2 bits to the statement, I'm going to write it here, but you would actually write it lower down. You would bracket from line 20 all the way down to the bottom, and you would probably put it here somewhere. Yeah. But I'm just going to write it here for the example. So I would say hyena funny, question mark. And I would say serious threat, question mark. Okay. So then as I'm reading the second half of the extract, which is question 4 territory, I'm not looking for question 2 stuff because that's already been done here in this section. I might still be looking for question 3 structural stuff a little bit because obviously that's from the whole text. So I could still be looking for question 3 a bit. But mostly after I get to line 20 and keep reading down, most of my focus is going to be on these things. Does the hyena appear to be funny or dangerous? Does the hyena seem to be a serious threat or not really? Yeah. So my brain is almost entirely focused. Now that whole process that I just did with you of reading question 1 and just really quickly doing it probably, and then reading question 2, 3, and 4 and marking out the extract, that should really only take you about 2 to 3 minutes total. Yeah. Because if you think about it, it's actually really easy. You read question 2, you already know that it's how language is used to present something. So you just have to find the exact lines and then language and whatever the thing is that is being described and add a little note on the side like we did here, right? That doesn't take long, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, right? Same for question 3. You could almost, I don't want you to do this, but you could almost not even read question 3 because for the last 10 years or however, it's coming up to 10 years for sure that this exam has been going, it's always been that. In the whole text, how is structure used to interest the reader? I want you to read it just to double check because technically they could change it very slightly. I don't want you to be scared about that, but they could go from whole text to maybe a certain set of lines, for example. So you just need to double check 100% that it is structured to interest the reader, but 99.99% chance it will be, okay? Then you quickly read question 4, and again, you just mark it up. And notice what I marked up for this one. I put the questions that I'm judging from the statement. So the 2 statements were whether the hyena is funny or not, and whether the hyena is a serious threat or not. So I boiled that down to 2 quick questions, and then I would be looking for evidence for that. Okay, so we've done question 1. That was easy. We're going to look together for a little bit of question 2, just so you can see how easy this can be. And then a little bit of question 3, and maybe just a touch of question 4. I don't want to make this video too long. I want to keep it to less than half an hour. So yeah, we'll go with question 2 first. So that's this section. And like I said, this is from Jam Wins. So you're looking for things like juxtaposition, imagery, metaphors, that kind of stuff. Okay. I am not one to hold a prejudice against any animal, but it is a plain fact that the spotted hyena is not well served by its appearance. Okay. So straight away, I do something outside of Jam Wins here. This is a euphemism, right? Pi is trying not to say that a hyena is ugly, but that is effectively what is being said, is that the hyena is an unattractive animal. And that is a euphemism, the fact that the hyena is not well served by its appearance. And then that can then be summed up very easily with this short sentence. It is ugly beyond redemption. Now that's an interesting phrase, and you can analyze that. The idea that it is beyond redemption, the word redemption has connotations of saving yourself or working things out. And it's this idea that it's being presented as hideously ugly, basically. Okay. So we can already start to see one point forming with a few bits of evidence. The hyena Martel uses language to present the hyena as hideously ugly. Yeah. With euphemism and phrase in short phrases. Its shaggy coarse coat is a bungled mix of colors, with the spots having none of the classy ostentation of a leopard's. Okay, so we've got an interesting word choice here. Bungled makes the hyena also appear to be odd or clumsy looking, almost like it wasn't thought through very well, the design of the leopard, so to speak. Of the hyena. And then we have a juxtaposition. Martel, or Pi, the character Martel is writing about, says that the hyena spots have none of the classy ostentation of a leopard. So we see that's a juxtaposition. So Martel is deliberately juxtaposing what he considers to be a beautiful animal, majestic looking animal like a leopard, with the ugliness and clumsiness and just stupid looking, really, hyena. Okay. They look rather like the symptoms of a skin disease. Okay. So we've got a simile here. The symptoms are like the symptoms of a skin disease. So this also adds to the idea of the hyena looking very odd, disgusting, diseased in this case. The idea it looks like a disease. a disease. The head is broad and too massive, with a high forehead like that of a bear, but suffering from a receding hairline, and with ears that look ridiculously mouse-like, large and round. So we have a very long sentence here. Even though you're talking about language, remember for question 2, you can also comment at least briefly on sentence forms. So we have a long list of very unappealing imagery. Head being too broad, too massive. The use of the word too suggests excessive, right? High forehead, suffering, receding hairline, ears that look ridiculously mouse-like. So you could pick a lot of different word choices in here, and all of this again is presenting the hyena as being very ugly, silly looking, weirdly put together, weirdly proportioned. Hopefully even from that you can see that there's so much evidence in here that you can use to analyze language about the hyena's appearance. The mouth is forever open and panting. The nostrils are too big. The tail is scraggly and unwagging. Now, I like this one because this one is another fancy technique that I would consider, which is called synecdoche. Synecdoche. So the tail that doesn't wag maybe suggests that the hyena is a very unhappy animal. So that's less about its appearance and more about its personality or its characteristics. If you wanted to do something on the characteristics, you could also do the fact that the ears are large if they haven't been torn off in battle. So you get the sense that the hyena is always in a fight, in a scrap. So that's more to do with its personality. Now, for me personally, I would do one long paragraph about the hideous appearance of the hyena. You've got so much imagery, so many word choices. You've got the juxtaposition in there. You've got some interesting similes. You've got loads, right? And then for me, to get to the highest level, you're going to try and find the more perceptive, original way that the hyena is presented. So every student is going to talk about the way the hyena looks. Very few are going to then infer the fact that the hyena also is presented as having a very negative, aggressive, fighting personality. Yeah. Now, just to make sure that I haven't misled you there, I just want to 100% double check back on question 2. Okay. And that's why I did that, because it actually specifically says appearance. So I can't talk about personality here, actually. So don't do that. Do not do that. Instead, I would then split the appearance up into several different things. So one is the hideous ugliness. That could be one paragraph. And the other is the almost deformed, ill-proportioned look of the hyena. That's a different thing, right? So you've got ugly and badly proportioned. Okay. That's question 2. I've ended up doing way more on question 2 than I planned to, but that's question 2. Now, remember, while you're doing question 2, question 3 can be from anywhere that you want also. Yeah, from anywhere that you want, because it's structure and how it creates interest. So for me, as we were reading this, I noticed a couple of question 3 things from this question 2 section. So it is ugly beyond redemption. For me, the use of the simple sentence adds a level of humor. It's very insulting towards the animal, and I think that would interest the reader through humor. I think you could then go on to talk about the extremely long list of negative description of the animal. The fact that it has a broad head, a high forehead, receding hairline, ridiculous ears. Yeah. So this long list, I think, also maybe adds to the humor, the idea that Pi is ripping into the hyena. So that would be one paragraph that I might do, is about the way that the writer interests the reader through use of humor, long lists, short sentences, and you can bring in the focal points as well, right? The focal point of all these images and the shift between them, the big head, the large forehead, the receding hairline, all these kind of funny, stupid focal shifts that could also go into question 3. Yeah. Let me look from this first section though for something else for question 3, so that you can see that it can be from anywhere. So let me read. It was the hyena that worried me. Straight away, that is a simple sentence again, and it could be used to interest the reader in terms of mystery and the fact that it's like a hook to keep them reading because they're wondering why the hyena is worrying them. This is also known as in media res. We're in the middle of the story straight away from the first line here. I had not forgotten my father's words. Hyenas attack in packs whatever animal can be run down. They go for zebras, gnus, and water buffaloes, and not only the old or the infirm in a herd, but full-grown members too. They're hardy attackers, rising up from butting and kickings immediately, never giving up for simple lack of will, and they're clever. Anything that can be distracted from its mother is good. Okay, I would also maybe, just so you can see other bits of FPPS, I would comment on the semicolon. The semicolon is used here to slow down the pace and create a moment of emphasis. And I think that adds to the sense of the danger of the hyena as well, the fact that they're very clever. So they're aggressive, they hunt and attack in packs, but they're also very cunning and clever. So I think that there's something there as well. So as you can see, what I've tried to do in today's video is I've tried to give you a really clear sense of what you're trying to do in Language Paper 1, Section A. I have got a full course that is coming out. The information about that is in the description below. And so we're going to be going through the creative writing of Section B of Paper 1. We're going to be going through Section A of Paper 2, Section B of Paper 2, which is known as transactional writing. I hope that this is really helpful content for you. I'm rooting for you in the exam. And if you want to see more of this stuff, you can certainly join the course, and there'll be videos for all of these different areas that you need and more in depth. I also offer an essay marking service. So once you've completed the course and looked at all of these different past paper bits with me as examples, if you want me to actually mark a paper for you or mark some of the questions for you, that is something that I do. And I have really in-depth videos that I will send that give you exact feedback on what you need to do to specifically improve. So yeah, that's everything for today. And if you did enjoy this, please do give it a big thumbs up or a like, or share it with someone that might benefit from this. It really helps the channel. It really helps me grow. And that website again is www.gcseenglishexperts.com, www.gcseenglishexperts.com. All right, I'll see you in the next one.